Dude, I was a brown kid in a rural Pennsylvania town. That's what it was. I had a guidance counselor. For anybody who was a public school kid who had a guidance counselor, I had a guidance counselor who told me my options were really to either enlist in the military or go to community college. My parents were both, my dad was a Vietnam vet. My mom was an Air Force veteran. Both of them basically told me I had two options: enlist in the military or get a job locally. So I was literally at that place in America. I'm sure you got places like this in Canada too, where there are no options.
Yes,
We're like,
I come from one.
Yeah. And, people who grew up in a location like that, they know exactly what we're talking about. There are no good options. I mean, hell, it's what we're looking at right now with the American election cycle too, right?
Right.
But my point is, I chose the military out of a lack of options. I was happy to serve. I was happy to get an education and build a career and, whatever else, but and be another generation of public servant, because my mom and my dad and my uncles and my aunts, everybody had served before me. But I mean, if I would have had a scholarship to go to college, if I would have had a talent that somebody recognized, if I would have had some other option to get out of rural Pennsylvania, I probably would have taken it. But the best option that came my way was a full ride scholarship to the Air Force Academy, which is the US's college for Air Force cadets, Air Force officers. I had to work my ass off to get that opportunity. And then when I went to the Air Force Academy, I was like the worst fit for the military ever. If in case it's not obvious.
Apparent now.
But I was a horrible pick for any kind of anything that had to do with the military. And all of my military friends who have seen me on these podcasts, who have watched me tell the truth about this. I mean, I was just talking to a buddy of mine who's a mentor, and he was like, yeah, you really were bad at it. And I was like, you see? Like there's so much power in being out of the military and saying I was not good at being in the military.
No, but see, that's okay. So yes, there's power in that, but I'm going to argue that you don't hear anyone saying that. The people so let's pick at this bone for a second. The people that were in, that are out now, that have made their entire current identities wrapped around one story and one character, and when I was this, and then you talk to people who are around them and they're like, no, that's not reality at all. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there was that with me too. Like, I know I did one thing right, but I know I did a million things wrong, but I did when it mattered, the one thing right. So I'm like, I can stand in that, but I also am not going to build my entire identity around it. And when you start speaking about your life this way, other people are going to start talking like, no, I know this person. I know this person. You don't hear people like you admitting, hey, this was actually not my strength. So as much as you may think that's normal, it's not. Everybody else uses it to boost their ego in this community. And because I don't see you necessarily on just veteran podcasts, I noticed that because you don't, people who stay just in the veteran podcast lane are like, rah, 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 rah. I see you outside of that lane. And that's why I feel like we're getting a different honesty too. It's not being met with other ego like this. It's being met with a curiosity. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
I appreciate your 2 cents on it. No, but the truth is, I was a lackluster cadet. I barely graduated the Air Force Academy. I think I had a 2.4 GPA.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Like I was not good. I was smart enough to not get kicked out and not flunk out, but I wasn't smart enough to try hard and stay focused. I was too busy chasing tail and trying to be popular like everybody else who had a normal college experience. Yeah. But then when I left, I went into the Air Force. The Air Force taught me how to fly. The military was good to me. Like even as much of a shitbag as I was, the military kept being good to me. And I kept having, decent enough supervisors that they kept putting opportunities in front of me, and everybody tried to groom me. And then come 2007, the military in the United States was force shaping so that it could redirect more funds to the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. I was in the Air Force. They directed more resources to leave the Air Force to free up cash flow that could be sent to the Army and the Marine Corps. And I was one of those people that raised my hand and said, hey, I volunteer to leave early. If you want to let me out of my commitment early, I will gladly leave early. And in classic breakup fashion, what I thought was, what is the exact opposite of what I've been doing, right? Like when you've been dating a beautiful blonde who weighs 160 pounds, you're like, oh, we're breaking up. So what do I need? I need a feisty brunette who weighs 110 pounds. I need the total opposite, right? So I'm leaving the military. I'm like, what's the total opposite of the military? And I'm racking my brain and I land on the Peace Corps. Like, it's the total opposite. I can go and like save children in Africa and meet women with hairy legs and have tent sex on Tuesdays and just be happy. Yeah. So I started going down that application process. And it was in that process that I came across a CIA recruiter who said, hey, if you think you'd be good at that job, you should consider coming and interviewing with us.